I'm talking with legendary comedian Richard Lewis, legendary comedian, actor Richard Lewis. And before
what did you say first, actor or comedian?
I said a legendary comedian and actor.
Are you putting my acting down? I mean, how do you determine what goes first?
Well,
what about author?
And you're an author.
And a comedy writer. Okay.
70
years old.
At 70.
And I have my bring. Can you hear that music in the background?
You demanded that for this interview.
I didn't. My father didn't pay a lot for my bar mitzvah band, so this is their grandchildren. And they live with my wife and I and my dog.
And you can hear that gently in the background, I would imagine.
And the conga guy is good.
Okay.
Good, Irving. Good work. Keep it down. I'm with Meier.
Let's talk about your dog.
Good to see you, but my dog, Bella Luna Lewis.
And you've had this dog how long?
For 6 years. She's a rescue, and I've never had a dog my whole life. I was afraid of dogs. My dogs were abused by my mother. Not in a way like putting them in a closet like you'd see on Dateline, but she wouldn't let the dog in the house. It was horrible. The dog ran away. And I was always afraid by dogs in the neighborhood. So my wife went to this Tony Award nominated writer. He was living alone in Laurel Canyon. He rescued this dog with his girlfriend. But he told my wife they were our best friends. This Bella Luna's too needy. She follows me everywhere. And he's like he's a musician. So he'd go to the piano. The dog's right there. And then he'd go to another instrument, and then he'd go to another room. The dog would follow him, and he couldn't take it, and he was going to give the dog back. So my wife called me with a picture. The dog jumped on my wife as if, help me, get me away from this narcissist, and put her head, it's a Maltese mix, and right between her breasts, and she showed me the picture. I said, bring her home, let me see her, and the rest is history. I'm in love. It's puppy love.
We got our dog 5 years ago almost now, and I was the same way. I thought I had several dogs when I was younger. They all got run over by cars. It was traumatic. I thought that's it.
But that's a good omen in my family.
Okay.
Run over by a car is good. Being shot in the head by an uncle is bad.
That's bad.
Yeah.
We get the dog, and after about a month, I thought, I don't know how I lived without a dog.
I hear you.
And
man.
I know you talked about yours for the year before we got ours, and I thought, what's the deal?
You sounded hostile. I was trying to convince you and your family. And your family, your beautiful daughter and your beautiful wife wanted one. I was showing you pictures, and you went, I hate them, and I look at that mutt. Come on.
Well,
you were like a Nazi.
Well,
now you're like a little teddy bear.
Now I don't want them to be around. I want the dog to myself.
Are you your wife's probably the master, though? Is she
the dog loves my wife because she picked him up. She's exactly the one, and
right.
She bonded immediately with him and vice versa. And now when she goes away, he just lies by the door waiting for her to come back.
I got the same thing. I have to be alone for 5 days. I feed her, and I walk her in the backyard. We have a backyard that's all fenced in, so coyotes and Rodan can't eat her. I carry her when I'm so paranoid something's going to happen. I live in the hills.
In Southern California.
Yeah, in Hollywood. And but there's animals, you stop at a stop sign and you see two possums having intercourse and aardvarks, three ways. It's horrible.
Okay.
And I don't want to see any. And if I see a squirrel or a bird making a nest, I go, look, I'll tell you one thing it's done. I was always afraid of every animal. Now, because I love my dog so much, even these little lizards, I go, hi, little baby lizard. I love all animals now.
It's funny, and I guess it's when you get to a certain age.
Oh, here we go. I'm 70. What's the
no, well, I was going to say.
Shit, I'm glad I'm alive.
No, but I'm saying it got to the point in the last few years where I wouldn't even kill a bug in the house because I thought we're all on this planet for a short amount of time. Why should I end your life? So I'll get a tissue, grab the fly or the spider, and bring it outside now. And that must be some weird thing as your life goes on, you realize.
I understand what you're saying, but I see a moth or a fly in my house, I smash them as hard as I can. I turn them into fly omelets. I'm getting maybe it's just what happens. I always think about this old people in the business. I'm sober for almost 24 years, but you get to the point where you get sloppy when you're talking, and you'll say things, and then you wake up the next morning and it's 5 million viral, TMZ bullshit things Richard Lewis put Jews down, or he said Liberace had 25 Maltese. But how did Rickles get away with all this? I'm just joking around.
That's the funny thing. If you were Rickles today starting out, he would never probably get that act off the ground. There's no way you could probably do that and get away with it.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty edgy world out there comedically. I don't want, we've discussed this for years. I've known you for over 35 years. You're one of my favorite broadcasters ever.
Thank you.
You truly are. You're one of the greats. And you've always got the most homophobic comments out of me. And no, I'm just kidding.
That was your shtickle.
My shtickle.
Yeah.
And I'll start shooting Curb again the 10th season after Labor Day. So now
there's going to be another season.
Oh yeah, it's all.
There was a long break between 8 and 9.
Yeah, now there's going to be not a long break anymore.
So Larry David, the creator,
Larry's off finishing up his thoughts, and then we'll come back after Labor Day and we'll shoot it. And the cast is back, and this is a heavy season for me, so I'm told, which is great.
And you enjoyed the last season. You had a lot of nice parts in that one, and
Gary, this started 18 years ago when Larry David came to my house. I was 50. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And he says, "Do you want to be in the show?" He told me about it. For a second, I guess it was ego. I said, "Listen, I just don't want to be a cameo like Sammy Davis Jr. popping in on All in the Family." And I meant that. And he says, I said, "Give me at least 3 episodes in the first year so I can see how it goes." And he said, "You got it." And we got great reviews together.
Because you've known him since childhood.
Since we were born 3 days apart in the same ward, interestingly enough. And then that we met when we were teenagers at a camp, and we hated each other, and then we never saw each other until we were comics. And I was already on a would-be alcoholic, and he wasn't a drinker or a druggie. And then I recognized his face from camp, and I freaked out. I mean, there's no other connection like this I can think of in comedic history. To be born in the same ward, to meet each other and hate each other and forget you knew each other, and then become best friends, and then realize you hated one another 15 years before. It's pretty trippy, and I think it comes across in the show. In fact, all we do is fight. And J.B. Smoove, we were joking around we were touring together for a while, a year or so ago, and he called him Larry the Hog. Because I've never done a scene with JB in all these years. And I've only do my scenes basically with Larry. And I annoy him. He's smarter than me, so he tries to beat me up with his vocabulary. I struggle and sound illiterate, and then I go home and wait for the check.
And is it scripted entirely? Is it part scripted, part ad-libbed? What is it? What's the combo?
It's entirely ad-libbed.
Entirely.
But there's beats for each scene, like that to move the story. If we didn't move the story, it would collapse like a bad cake. But he'll say, "Richard, all you have to do is meet me at this doctor's office and be pissed off that I'm going first. That's all I know." And that he needs that for some reason, and I don't even know why. And the less I know, the better I am.
And then you just
ad-lib
riff when you two start going back
Why
and forth.
Why can't I go first? Who are you? Whatever I say, and then we do it once or twice. And if he's sort of like it's like Woody Allen movies. He used to do stand-up with these kind of premises, but now he does these premises through other people's voices.
Last season ended with a fatwa on Larry. Is that going to continue into the next season? You don't even know.
I just know that he's almost done with the episodes, and then he had Lin-Manuel for a couple episodes. That was a coup and a half.
How about that?
I guarantee you that I listen. I'm just a fan of the show. This is such a cult show. I've never seen it. I mean, people come over to me. They quote lines from 12 years ago. They still think I gave them a kidney. I mean, they believe this. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and I don't know if that goes on with that many shows.
The fact is, Larry David, the co-creator of Seinfeld, speaking of people quoting, that left such an imprint, and now it's been off the air 20 years, and still you hear, remember on Seinfeld, yada, 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 and all those things that have
on every hour,
sustained.
in every country, on every station.
Right.
I'm happy for Larry that this happened. But I always marvel at I'll put on an independent channel, and there's Seinfeld.
Listen.
Yes.
You have had a long, rich comedic career. If you were starting out, we mentioned Rickles starting out today. If he started out today, who knows? I don't know. I mean, because the climate is so weird.
I know, it's crazy.
How has it changed? Has your act changed? I know the nuts and bolts are pretty much the same, but what about politics, whatever? It's so explosive.
Listen, I'll be honest. I'm always honest with you. I've basically, my goal in life and on stage was to talk about me. Because I didn't have the greatest upbringing. No one seemed to give a shit. So I used an audience like a therapist, and if they laughed, I felt validated. And I did that when in 1970, 71, and now. And I just came off the road with about 10 cities, and I decided, I walked on stage and I went, look, I said, you don't care whom I'm voting for. You don't give a shit what I'm about Trump, what I think about him. I could talk for hours about how I feel about what's going on, and I said, I'm not here. I didn't travel 2,000 miles to talk about the president and have one, white supremacist in the audience who's a fan of Curb to shoot me in the head, So I'm saying, fuck politics for an hour. Go watch the monologues at night. Just brilliant shows. Watch the shows at night. Watch the monologues.
Right. Pick your poison.
Said, now just lose yourself in my craziness for an hour, and they all applaud. They don't want to fucking hear that. I mean,
hey, you're preaching to the choir here because I don't do any politics on the program.
I'm sick of. I mean, as a comic, I used to when I go on TV. If I'm on TV on a news show that's more, that's close to my politics. Fine, because you're there and there's no audience. But when you're staring at 1,000 people or 400 people, and you say one thing, it's over.
It is. It's crazy. There's no dialogue. It's just
not funny.
Hunkering down.
I mean, there's plenty of comics who they're political, and it's great, and I love them. But I don't. I eviscerate myself on stage. I've always, me. That's what I do. I talk about all of my problems, which most people have anyway, and I talk about them.
So you're going to do this, the stand-up part of it, until...
Well, I can still stand up.
Well, you can still stand up.
Honestly, and I'll act on Curb, and I'll act, if anything. My goal is to keep my career, I've turned down a lot of things. I just don't want to see myself in something stupid. And my agents know that. And by the way...
What would be stupid at this point?
Just some dumb role, just for the bread.
Dancing with the Stars, something like that.
Dancing with the Stars. If I was on a gurney with the stars. No, I couldn't do that.
I mentioned earlier how long you're going to do this, and I would imagine until you can't walk. But here's the beauty.
On my game.
Here's the beauty. You've never stood upright, so nobody's going to know if you're starting to bend because you've always been hunched over. So this is perfect that your posture has never been right because even if it goes bad, nobody will know.
Well, my back's still okay, but the MRI they never saw a thing that looked like a U, an inverted U. And the doctor screamed and ran out of the MRI office. But I'm better now. Do I look...
You said you've had some medical issues. You fell.
I fell off my roof and fractured my wrist on the way to Vegas. Then I had to cancel 9 months of work. And I was
You've had eye surgery.
Eye surgery, my second hernia. When I get an MRI machine in my house, then I know it's over.
The home version.
The home version?
Yeah.
I bet you could get one.
Would you like to step into my MRI and have a cup of coffee?
That would be if I was single. I don't know how I could parlay that into a sexual encounter. How are you? Want to watch TV or I get an MRI?
It's free. It's complimentary.
it comes with me.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's good to see you, and you're going to be on the road at some point again, maybe this summer.
Well, I'm going to start. I'm starting to collect my gigs now for the summer, and maybe do some acting possibilities, and then I'll be in LA.
Nothing that's beneath you. You made that clear to your agents.
I don't want to be. It's like I tell my wife, like for commercials, for example. I did a commercial 4 years ago. I did a couple, but one that I loved was a Snickers commercial,
right,
with Roseanne. It was a very popular commercial. It was really hip, and I ad-libbed.
You were a lumberjack or something.
She got killed by a tree. She didn't get killed. The tree. It was a great commercial.
She didn't get killed? Really?
She didn't get killed.
I'm shocked.
Didn't you?
I thought they really kill people in these things.
Well, I misspoke. But like my wife says, what if they say What if they say you're in a hamburger commercial and your hands come out of the bun and your head, hi, I'm Richie Burger. She says, and they offer you like $1 million. She says, I'm leaving you. In other words, I want to die with.
You wouldn't take $1 million for that?
With my head sticking out of a bun?
Yeah.
No.
I'll tell you what, pass that on to me. If you turn it down, I'll be happy to be a hamburger for $1 million.
Well, maybe, I would do it now.
Do it.
It'd be a great panel.
Okay, what is the number now that we're talking about this? So they come to you and say, hey, we'd like you to do an adult diaper commercial for $5 million.
Like it depends thing.
Yes. There's got to be a number. And I see you're good for it right here, $5 million.
I'd have
$5
to.
million.
I would move to Europe if I did it,
Okay.
and I'd retire on it.
Here's the thing. Nobody's going to think you're beneath anything.
Yeah, why not?
You're doing it for commerce. And nobody would.
That's a humiliation.
The average
diaper
person
commercial?
goes, I'd kill to get one of those commercials. The average person doesn't think of it like you
I'm not
think
trying
of
to
it.
be elitist, but I'm not going to, do a Depends commercial at this point, unless I'm retiring.
It's
I'll
funny
take
at
the
this
money
point.
and get plastic surgery and look.
I mean,
like
you'd
Abe
make it
Lincoln.
funny. Look at, I wet myself. I'm Richard Lewis. I don't know what I'm doing. They paid me
It's not
$5
funny
million.
to my wife.
Okay.
My wife has to come up with the figure. If I do it, you'll know about it. But I'll be living in a foreign country.
Okay. All right, Richard.
So great to see you.
Always good to
Gary,
see you.
I love you.
All right,
buddy.
we'll talk around the time you start the new
Maybe
series.
our dogs can have sex and have children. We can have children with our dogs.
Because you have a female dog and I have a male.
Yeah,
so.
but she's a grandmother, and I don't think she can have kids anymore.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that.
Or maybe the dog can just come over and tease her a little bit.
Richard Lewis, thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for listening. Happy Father's Day. Take the cannoli, kiss the schnauzer, especially on Father's Day. You deserve it. And this is the voice of the globe saying, see you in church, mosque, or temple. You pick. It's 3 in the green, gears down, flaps are down because the Gear Force has landed. Have a great weekend.